I think this episode will probably be slapped with the filler label by some fans on Twitter.
The first 5 episodes of The Bad Batch have been released and no one cares. I haven't even bothered to review any of the episodes. I'm still recovering from the incredible boredom and low view count from my epic trashing of the adult HBO-styled show Andor. It may have not done much for channel growth, but I am proud to say I ripped apart all 12 episodes.
You're welcome.
I was late to watching Bad Batch Season 1, and I never got around to making a season review, because I just didn't care. It's just more Dave Filoni garbage. It's Season 8 of the Clone Wars, something we didn't need. How did Bad Batch Season 1 advance the overall story? Maybe it did a little. The Empire is moving away from clones to stormtroopers, but does that really take 16 episodes to tell? A lot of Season 1 is about a character no one wanted, Omega, who is a Dave Filoni strong whammon character. Disney has released Season 2, and again, I ask, how is this progressing the overall story? The answer is, it's not. The first 5 episodes have been mindless
Star Wars content.
The Bad Batch is Star Wars filler. And you might be saying, that's Melvin, I really like The Bad Batch. I love the Clone Wars. This is not Star Wars filler. Well, you're just a Ray boy.
The Bad Batch is back today with a 2-episode premiere, Spoils of War and Ruins of War. So how does it feel returning to this series after some delays? It feels pretty good.
Of course it feels good. You're a Disney shill that's paid to feel this way. The first 2 episodes, Spoils of War and Ruins of War, basically they want to steal treasure from Count Dooku. And in the second episode, they fail. So nothing happened. It's just 2 episodes of Dave Filoni Omega simping garbage.
They weren't my favorite episodes of the series or anything, but I'm glad to have this little family back for the next few months.
Even Sexplain didn't like it. And we just had a major, terrible heist arc in the show Andor. Immediately, this show is starting with a heist. It's redundant and just boring.
We get to know Tawny Ames a little more as she removes her helmet to reveal a younger woman than I expected.
More useless garbage and another strong whammon character from Dave Filoni. Cody decides to queef on the Empire.
He tried to tell himself that the Empire and the Republic were one and the same, and there's no way to truly reconcile that. I think this episode will probably be slapped with the filler label by some fans on Twitter.
Oh man, this show is boring. It's fucking filler. And if you didn't think the first 3 episodes were ass, the 4th one was complete garbage.
The 4th episode of The Bad Batch Season 2, Faster, was just a fun, lighthearted Star Wars story. Of the first 4 episodes, it was probably my least favorite, but I still enjoyed it for what it was.
Of course you did, you fucking shill. And if that wasn't bad enough, Sexplain literally plugged a future video game.
On this new world, we are introduced to Riot Racing, which might as well be the Star Wars version of Mario Kart. Obstacles on the track, weapons to be fired forward or backward. I would absolutely play this video game if anyone at Lucasfilm Games is watching.
We could have just had pod racing in this episode, but no! We need to invent something new, Riot Racing, just to make it a Disney concept!
This wasn't my favorite episode of the season so far, but I did really enjoy the race. Not every episode or every series needs to be super dramatic all the time.
We all know Star Wars Sexplained is Disney's top Disney shill. He is the CNN of Star Wars. On this shill edition of CNN, Sexplained has been constantly comparing The Bad Batch to Andor and Tales of the Jedi. In addition to this show being Star Wars filler, Sexplained is trying to enhance this show and the previous shows with references and Easter eggs. Talk about some high-grade filler.
I know some fans were wondering if we'd get tonal whiplash going from the very serious and grounded Andor to the more lighthearted and exaggerated world of Star Wars animation. That was never a worry of mine, and I didn't find it jarring at all. It's just a different flavor of the same universe. These first 2 episodes connect pretty well to both Andor and Tales of the Jedi. Here's where things start to connect back to Andor. If they steal some of Dooku's treasure, they'll all be rich enough to disappear, which is exactly what Cassian Cassian wanted to do. He helped pull off the Aldani heist, and then he tried to disappear on Niamos. Dooku was corrupt, and it made me so sad thinking back to the Dooku episodes of Tales of the Jedi. Dooku wanted to fight corruption in the Republic, the Senate, and the Jedi Council. We got to understand exactly why he felt that fight was necessary, but of course in his quest to fight darkness, he lost himself to it. And for another Andor connection, I was terrified we were about to have another Nimic-style death on our hands. Instead, we just got a Nimic-style injury after a box lands on Tech's leg. But he survives and they all limp away from the war chest. Let me point out that Desix is just a cool-looking world. This is another example of a time that I think Andor has enhanced this series. Andor has enhanced this series. Enhanced this series. Desix doesn't look like a great place to live, but neither did Ferrix. And yet the people of both worlds have pride for their homes. They are protective and they view their worlds as worth fighting for. And it's basically the same scenario we saw play out in flashbacks in Andor. The Empire is moving in, planting their flags across the galaxy. Cassian's father, Clem, seemed content to let the new government do whatever they wanted and then leave, but the people of Desix disagree. And that's because they were separatists. And this is such an interesting thing to see play out. He was right about the corruption of the Republic giving way to something far worse. That's the whole reason he fell to the dark side in the first place, which we recently got to see in more detail in Tales of the Jedi. Groton demands her body be placed in the town square as a warning, which is yet another connection to Andor and what happened on Ferrix. I've been connecting the past 3 episodes of The Bad Batch back to Andor, and I think the two series complement each other very well, but Andor was very intense, and sometimes it's nice to just kick back and laugh and cheer for 20 minutes.
Well, maybe Sexplained is enjoying himself.
Yes, that's easy for you to say, sir. They pay you to be here.
But that's 20 minutes I'll never get back. 80 minutes with the 4 shows. The Bad Batch is not only bad, it is Star Wars filler. And for all the Disney lovers still here crying, Sexplained even admitted The Bad Batch is filler in his episode 5 review.
The latest episode of The Bad Batch, titled Entombed, is a weird one for me. It has a lot of story elements that I enjoyed, but as the credits rolled, I wasn't sure what this one-off adventure was for. I don't see how anything changed for our characters, but let's dive into the story and try to figure this out. Omega seems content to simply have gone on an adventure, and Phee tells her she has the right attitude. Like maybe there doesn't have to be a lesson. Sometimes a story can just be a story. Okay, sure, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I had a fine time watching Entombed, but it's not an episode that's gonna really stick with me.
The Bad Batch has to be pretty bad if even Sexplained can't keep it together. I've watched enough Sexplained to drive a normal man insane. I'm a Star Wars Sexplained expert, and The Bad Batch Season 2 is the only show where I've seen him have any kind of confliction in his reviews. He's paid to love the show and give it a great review, but he can't help himself. Inside there is an Alex that loved the original movies, loved the EU, an Alex that knows Disney Star Wars is not Star Wars. He knows The Bad Batch is filler.
I think this episode will probably be slapped with the filler label by some fans on Twitter.
I am Darth Melvin, leader of the Knights of Melvin, and I am exposing all the Disney shills in the Star Wars fandom. Through the dark side of the Force, I will bring balance.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.